Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when and where you're watching this video. My name is Alfie from the Alfie Web Dev channel, and today I'm going to be showing you how to use structured outputs with the OpenAI API. The context in which we're going to be using this tool is inside of a Next.js application where we're going to generate a chapter for a story that needs consistent output. And the way we're going to get this consistent output is using the structured outputs feature. This is a relatively new feature to the OpenAI API, but it's super simple to get set up, so I'm not going to waste any more of your time, and let's get straight into it. There are two libraries you need in order to get started. The first one is the OpenAI npm package, so go ahead and type in npm I OpenAI. I'm going to go ahead and clear the terminal now to show you the next one. The next package we need to install is Zod, and we're going to be using this to make our schemas. Now that you've installed those two things, it's time to go ahead and make our API call. At this point, I just want to mention that you do need an API key in order to follow this tutorial. Go over to the OpenAI website, navigate to the API section, create an account if you don't have one, and then generate an API key. You may have to pay, I don't remember exactly, but it's very cheap to use. I'm working inside of my actions.ts file in order to write this function. The first thing I want to import is the OpenAI package. Import OpenAI from OpenAI. The next thing I want to do is import Zod. So just type import Z from Zod. Underneath, after importing Z from Zod, you need to import Zod response format from OpenAI helpers Zod. So our structure for our chapter is going to have a title, number, summary, main characters, and setting. The title is of course a string, the number is of type number, the summary is of type string, the main characters is an array of strings, and the setting is a string. In order to get this set up, let's go ahead and just do const chapter structure equals z.object. Make sure you spell it correctly, unlike I just did there. And once you call it, it expects an object. And this object follows the structure of the keys I just talked about. Type in title, followed by z.string, comma, then do the number, z.number, summary, z.string, or z.string depending on where you're from, main characters, and that is again an array of strings, and finally our setting, which is a string. Now we need to go ahead and initialize our client in order to connect to the OpenAI endpoint. At this point, you need your OpenAI API key. You can put this inside of an env.local file and import it into the actions.ts file. This is the code that you need to write in order to initialize your OpenAI API client. Const OpenAI equals new OpenAPI and pass into it as an argument the API key. Make sure you put the camel case, and then process.env.openAPI key. And again, make sure you put your OpenAPI key inside of a .env.local file. Another thing I want to do, but this is Next.js specific, is go ahead and just put at the top of this file and mark it as use server. So now that we've got all of this stuff set up, we need to go ahead and write a function which is going to call the OpenAI API to generate our structured JSON. Export async function generate chapter. Now we need to actually call the API. Const completion equals await OpenAI dot beta dot chat dot completions dot pass. This takes an object. The object expects the model. The model that it recommends that you use at the time of recording this video, which is August 2024, is GPT-40 2024 08 06. Put a comma there, and now put your messages. The messages is in an array. We have to put two objects inside of this array. The first one is the role of the system, and the next one is the role of the user. Each of them have their own content. Let me go ahead and show you how to do that. Role, system, Content. You are an AI assistant that helps users generate story chapters. Now I'm going to exit this object and go ahead and create a new one with the role of user. We're now going to say in the content here, create a chapter based on the following prompt. My story is going to be about a horse walking into a bar. Another thing I want to do is modify this prompt up the top, just instructing the AI to definitely use the schema provided. Only use the schema provided. For the response format, we need to give it Zod response format and pass to it the chapter structure followed by the name of what we want it to be. We'll just call it chapter response. Now we need to do some validation on this check. So we're just going to say const message equals completion dot choices 0 dot message. Then we're going to say if message dot passed console.log message dot passed, else console.log message refusal. Message.refusal is something that comes back inside of the response object if the prompt you have done would generate something that violates the rules of the API, something illegal. You can get the gist of what I'm trying to say there. What I want to do as well is I'm going to go ahead and console.log the individual keys of the message.pass thing here. So I'm going to go ahead and say console.log message.pass.title, message.pass.number, message.pass.summary, message.pass.main characters, and message.pass.setIn. Over in the browser now, I'm just going to click on the button generate chapter for a story about a horse. Click it, nothing's going to happen obviously. As you can see now, if we go back to our terminal, we can see our structured output here, followed by the individual things that I decided to console.log down here as well. Of course, you could go ahead and now modify the UI using this information. You could save it to a database. It's entirely up to you. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video today. I really hope you learned something from it. If you did, please do consider subscribing, giving me a like, and maybe even a comment letting me know how useful you found the video. Thanks very much, guys. Relevant links down in the description as well. Have a good one. Bye-bye.